Welcome to the beginning of the build. Thank you for following me. I'm going to start with the construction of the false keel and the bulkheads. Although the instructions say to start with the mast and the boom, I think it's going to be easier and also more satisfying to have something that looks like a ship. Right, so to start that, the first thing to do is to get one of the plans, and on one side there is a diagram of the pieces as they should be numbered. There is a slight discrepancy since in the kit there's only two pieces, number 2130 and 2132, and in the original the pieces are in four different sheets of 4mm, and including 2130, 2131, 2132, and 2133. The order has changed a little bit, but it's pretty easy. The best option then is with a pencil to write out the numbers of the different pieces which are needed. And not to lose them, I'm just going to cut out the ones of the fake keel and the bulkheads together with the strengtheners for the fake keel, and as well as doublers right here. There are also more doublers that go at the bow and the stern, which I will take out. The rest of the pieces I'll just leave on there. To take them out, it's pretty simple. It's just a matter of cutting the small tabs, which are located right here and right here, with an X-Acto knife, and carefully so you don't break the knife, and take them out. And then see how it all looks. Okay, now that they're all out, got them stacked up, the ones from the front, the first 7 right to the middle, and the ones from the back, the last 7, and obviously they will go in here. The important thing is these are the strengtheners for the joint of the two parts of the false keel, which will go here. Of course, you will have to put as well the strengtheners on the side, which will apply to piece number 22, so they will be doubled up there. The problem with this that I'm saying is that unless it's very precise, it's going to be pretty tight. So I think I will have to sand them down a little bit. I don't know, or be quite exact when putting it, making sure that this piece is lined up to this bulkhead right here, or if not, it's not going to fit. As you can see here as well, they have little protrusions from where they were attached to the plywood. These have to be sanded out. Using a normal file will work out pretty nicely. As well, you have to make sure that they fit. And I have already been doing some test fitting, and they do require quite a lot of sanding to be able to make it fit inside. This one I've already started working on, but it doesn't go in all the way. It's pretty tight, so the best option I think is to get each one of the bulkheads and sand down this part as well as this other part to get them to slide in and out a bit easier. Finally, there are these 4 parts in the front and 4 parts in the back that will be used to strengthen the bow and the stern to be able to add the planks easier. That is actually the idea of this here. So the next step is to actually, with this file, start sanding on all the different pieces like this, to be able to make them slide in and out easier, not let them too loose, because that will be easier to position them. But that should be the next step, to go down this pile and see how everything fits together and see if it fits nicely. Okay. done with the filing. Now it's beginning to look like a ship. It's pretty nice. The frames were pretty tight. They're not glued in. Nothing is glued in. I had to file both this part and this part quite a lot to get them to fit in, but now they actually fit in. Not very loosely, but at least I can pull them in and pull them out, and also to make sure that when I come to glue them, they will actually fit squared with the keel. The part that I was talking about before that is going to be problematic is that this little part actually goes above the frames. In instructions it just says that when you sand down the whole frame to actually frame that as well. What I think I'm going to do is actually frame it, sand it down beforehand and make it a bit easier on me. That will be probably the next step, as well as I finally cut out the rudder as well, and I realized that there is one little part that has to be cut off. I think it's going to be easier to do it now as well, so I'll probably do those two things as well. I've also gone ahead and cut out the reinforcements in the front and the back, and the next step then will be to actually glue the different parts together. The only problem that I found until now with the kit is that actually the front part of the keel is actually not completely flat. It's bowed to one side. I think I can fix this when the deck goes on. I'll just be careful and probably glue it as straight as possible. So next step, to start gluing. Here's a small clip of how I'm gluing together the two parts of the false keel. What I did to do one side was to put it on a plastic surface, glue the joint with a little bit of wood glue. The glue I'm using is just a generic wood glue that takes 24 hours to dry, but it's pretty strong. So what I did was to join the two parts together on top of plastic, and then putting heavy weights, as you see here, some old hard drives that weigh quite a lot, and then I put the other side of this with some glue on the back and stuck it on top, also with some weight, let it dry for 24 hours, and then I flipped it over using some of the bulkheads as spacers to keep it all nice and flat, and using another one here to identify where to put it to make sure that it is exact, and there will be enough space to put the other two bulkheads in front. I've also drawn a little line on top. I don't think it's visible, but it's right up there, and that way I can just line it all up. So to do that, all I'm doing is just grabbing some of the wood glue, putting it right here, and then with a toothpick spreading out all on top so it's nice and even. I'm not putting all that much on it either, just enough to make it cover nice and neatly the whole piece, and trying to not get the glue all over me. And almost there. And now that's all nice and covered, what I'm going to do is just put it on there and line it up. There we go. Making making sure that it lines up with this other piece, pressing it down nice and strong. And that should keep it well in place. A good option is to actually grab that same toothpick and get rid of some of the excess glue here to make sure that the next piece will fit flush. Comes out pretty easy. This glue gives you quite some time to maneuver and keep everything nice and flat straight. Putting the weight right here, and now carefully taking this part out now that it's all nice and lined up. Maybe not. There we go. Make sure that does stay lined up so the two sides will be the same. And then just simply putting a can, which is pretty heavy, and making sure that it stays in place with even something heavier on top, and that should keep it nice. And now it's a matter of waiting for 24 hours for it to dry, and then it should be a very strong bond. When that is done, it's a matter of gluing the bulkheads on. This is the way that I'm putting the frames on. I'm making sure that all of them have the number on top, which was the same side of the sheet, and I'm making sure they are all going forward. I've made sure that they can move freely by sanding down with a file the grooves as well as I can, and then to stick them on, all I'm doing is actually adding wood glue in each one of the slots, just a small amount on each side of the frame. It comes out. Not a lot is needed since they are quite tight in their fitting. And then just putting them in, pushing them so they're aligned on top. As best as possible, looking there, and also looking that the bottom part is aligned as well as possible as well, and it seems to work. Now to strengthen it, what I'm doing is also adding a little strip down the side to make sure that it stays well put together. Cleaning out the excess, using it on the other side, and this should keep it in its place. First stage done. Got it all put together, and it's looking pretty good. It's all nice and square. All the bulkheads are square to the false keel. To do that, I actually used a square piece, just a little bottle of paint, and as I was going, I was making sure that they were all nice and squared out. Only other little part that I did was, and you can still see that it's gluing right here, is I put an extra strip of thick wood glue, and I think that will make the whole structure pretty strong and pretty nice to put the planking on. So now it's on to the next step. Will be to sand the top, put the decks, and then sand the sides to make them streamlined, to later on put the planks. Well, hope you are liking the build until now, and I'll keep on working on it. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next stage.